Today on the show, we have the House of Mouse headlines brought to you by laughingplace.com, your up-to-date resource for the latest Disney news every day of the week. This episode is being released on May 3rd, 2023, and here's what's been going on in the world of Disney recently. A show-stopping animatronic literally stopping Fantasmic at Disneyland, halfway to Halloween updates from Disney Parks, another DVC resort taking over a beloved Walt Disney World location, and more.
Hear the latest news from the Walt Disney Company in today's House of Mouse headlines.
Coinciding with World Wish Day and Disney's granting of its 150,000th wish, the Disneyland Resort has dedicated 3 new windows on Main Street, USA to Make-A-Wish and its participants. Marking the first time in Disneyland Park's history that a window on Main Street has been dedicated to a nonprofit organization, the 3 windows include a center window honoring Make-A-Wish and all of the Wish Kids past, present, and future, while side windows honor Chris Grecius, who inspired the creation of Make-A-Wish, and Frank Bopsy Salazar, the first official wish granted by Make-A-Wish. The 3 new windows can be found above the Wish Lounge, which serves as a calming respite in Disneyland Park for Wish Kids and their families during their visits to the resort. So be sure to keep an eye out for these new window displays on your next stroll down Main Street, USA. The brand new Disney Vacation Club member lounge, Starview Station, has officially opened in Tomorrowland at Disneyland. Inspired by Walt Disney's optimistic vision for the future, the first ever member lounge at Disneyland sports a retro-inspired, yet modern aesthetic featuring a variety of murals and tributes to the past and the future. The entrance to Starview Station is located on the lower level of Star Wars Launch Bay building, where guests will then ascend to the upper level. Once inside, members can enjoy several amenities, including a dedicated Disney Vacation Club member services team, comfortable seating, complimentary Wi-Fi, and device charging stations. Guests can refuel with complimentary Coca-Cola Freestyle machines and a selection of coffee beverages. Starview Station, a Disney Vacation Club member lounge, is now open daily at Disneyland Park and is available exclusively for Disney Vacation Club members. A new dining option is popping up at Downtown Disney. Recently, the Fullerton-based establishment Clyde's Hot Chicken announced it would be opening a new location at the district. As it turns out, rather than residing in a full-sized space, the restaurant will utilize a kiosk near the monorail station. Funny enough, looking at the menu boards that have been installed, Clyde's is making some nomenclature changes for this location. While one of their spice levels has traditionally gone by the name Hot as Cluck, at the Disneyland Resort, you can order your chicken hot as Cali. It appears that Clyde's Hot Chicken is now serving at Downtown Disney, so stop on by. As the Disney 100 celebration continues to spread east, Walt Disney World has announced new details and offerings tied to the theme. First off, at Epcot, guests will be able to meet Mickey and Minnie Mouse in their new dazzling platinum outfits. And at night, Spaceship Earth will honor Disney 100 with a special display. Meanwhile, guests staying at Walt Disney World Resort hotels may also see some of their favorite characters making appearances in their Disney 100 attire. Also, as of this week, guests can enjoy the Disney 100 Petite Cake for a limited time at Amorette's Patisserie in Disney Springs, and will soon be able to nab a Disney 100 Cinderella Premium Bucket at Magic Kingdom. Of course, this is likely just the tip of the iceberg, so stay tuned for more Walt Disney World Disney 100 news in the coming weeks. Fans of The Little Mermaid will be able to meet with Ariel from the new live-action movie at Disneyland, Walt Disney World, and Disneyland Paris this summer. Starting at the Disneyland Resort in California, Ariel will venture on land to greet guests along the promenade near It's a Small World. Over at Disney's Hollywood Studios, guests will be able to see a special sneak peek, view props from the film, and of course, see Ariel herself at Walt Disney Presents. Lastly, at Disneyland Paris, guests can share an interactive and fun experience with Ariel as she invites everyone at Walt Disney Studios Park to join a joyful, limited-time celebration in honor of the new movie release. No start date for these experiences have been announced just yet, but The Little Mermaid opens in theaters on May 26th. After being shuttered around the time of Toy Story Land's opening, a reimagined Pixar place is returning to Disney's Hollywood Studios. Starting May 14th, the Edna Mode experience will return to this area. Additionally, as part of the reimagining, guests will also have the opportunity to meet Mr. and Mrs. Incredible, Frozone, and another meet and greet opportunity featuring Sully from Monsters, Inc. Additional details are slim at this moment, but we'll all get a peek inside this reopened area soon enough. For years, the cabins at Disney's Fort Wilderness Resort have provided Walt Disney World guests with unique accommodations for their vacations. Now, Disney has announced plans to replace the current cabins with new ones to create a new Disney Vacation Club property. The update calls for 350 new cabins to be built on the site of the existing ones. According to DVC, design concepts offer a fresh take on the current cabin experience and are inspired by the resort's idyllic setting, while also paying homage to the resort's unique culture and heritage through the magic of Disney storytelling. Each standalone cabin will sleep up to 6 adults and include a bedroom, bathroom, living room, full kitchen, and a private patio. Also, a select number of the new cabins will also be dog-friendly. As mentioned, the new cabins would become the 17th DVC property. However, Disney notes, as with all Disney Vacation Club resorts, the proposed cabins will continue to be open for reservations to all guests, including those who are not Disney Vacation Club members, based on availability. The cabins at Disney's Fort Wilderness Resort, a Disney Vacation Club resort, is currently projected to open in 2024. Someone very familiar with the original animated version of Lilo and Stitch is in final talks to join the cast of the new live-action adaptation. According to The Hollywood Reporter, Chris Sanders, who voiced the original Stitch in addition to writing and directing the animated film, is set to reprise his role as Experiment 626 in the new version. The news of Sanders' casting is only the latest addition in a string of names, which also includes Zach Galifianakis as Jumba, Billy Magnuson as Pleakley, newcomer Maya Kiloha as Lilo, Sydney Elizabeth Agudong as Nani, Kaipo Dudoit as David, and Courtney B. Vance as Cobra Bubbles. Tia Carrera, who provided the voice of Nani in the original animated classic, is also set to play a new character, Mrs. Kiko, in the live-action adaptation, while Amy Hill will also star as another new character, Tutu. No release date for the live-action film has been set, nor is it clear whether it will see a theatrical or streaming bow. A hero that's largely been left out of Marvel's Disney Plus party is now ready to swing onto the platform. The Spider-Man trilogy starring Tobey Maguire, as well as The Amazing Spider-Man with Andrew Garfield, are now available on Disney Plus. Additionally, Spider-Man Homecoming and Venom will join the service on May 12th. Plus, even more titles from Sony Pictures' film and television library are expected to premiere on Disney Plus in the US later this year, following an earlier deal between Disney and the studio. After a somewhat successful, albeit a bit disappointing run in theaters, the latest Ant-Man adventure is coming to the small screen. No pun intended. Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania will begin streaming on Disney Plus on May 17th. This is just one day later than the 4K Ultra HD Blu-ray and DVD releases on May 16th. Meanwhile, the film is already available for digital download. And as a reminder, Scott Lang's book, Look Out for the Little Guy, is expected to hit bookstore shelves this September. It looks as though it's the end of the line for National Treasure: Edge of History, as Disney Plus is not moving forward with a second season, according to Deadline. Debuting in December 2022, Edge of History was an expansion of the National Treasure movie franchise told from the point of view of young heroine Jess, a dreamer in search of answers about her family, who embarks on the adventure of a lifetime to uncover the truth about the past and save a lost Pan-American treasure. While reactions to the series were mixed, the series did include some nostalgic nods and cameos for fans. Alas, those fans will now just have to wait for a hopeful sequel to the films instead. More than 6 years after her untimely passing, legendary actress Carrie Fisher will soon be posthumously honored with a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. The unveiling ceremony will take place appropriately enough on May 4th, with Fisher's being the 2,754th star in the category of motion pictures. Fisher's star will be unveiled near the historic El Capitan Theater, and her daughter, actress Billie Lourd, will be accepting the star on behalf of her mother. Luckily, fans can tune into the ceremony for themselves by visiting walkoffame.com around 11:30 a.m. Pacific on May the 4th. After the Central Florida Tourism Oversight District Board voted to nullify an agreement between Disney and the former Reedy Creek Improvement District Board, the Walt Disney Company filed a lawsuit suing Florida Governor Ron DeSantis as well as members of his appointed board. In the suit, Disney claims that DeSantis has engaged in a targeted campaign of government retaliation due to Disney using its protected First Amendment rights. The suit continues, listing a timeline of events and sharing quotes from DeSantis and other lawmakers that Disney say demonstrate that the legislative actions were indeed meant to be punitive. In response, the governor's communications director Taryn Fenske said, quote, "We are unaware of any legal right that a company has to operate its own government or maintain special privileges not held by other businesses in the state. This lawsuit is yet another unfortunate example of their hope to undermine the will of the Florida voters and operate outside the bounds of the law." End quote. Additionally, the new board has authorized plans to file a countersuit against Disney. At this point, all we can really say is stay tuned. And now it's time to bring back Kyle Burbank from laughingplace.com. How's it going, Kyle?
It's going well. Laughing Place is kind of taken over between me and then Celestino and then me again.
3 weeks in a row, we got some LP on the DCTC. Did you enjoy the episode with your cohort?
I did. Yeah, it's funny that he only missed one of them, and it was because he was sick. I don't remember that, but that's unfortunate for him.
Yeah, and it was one of the best ones. So
Yeah.
At least in my opinion. So. Yeah, if you don't know what we're talking about, go listen to the last episode of Disney Coast to Coast where we talk all about the Disneyland After Dark events at Disneyland. And speaking of Disneyland After Dark, let's start the news with something that happens after dark. On Saturday, April 22nd, the Maleficent dragon caught fire during Fantasmic at Disneyland. And no pun intended, but holy crap, this news caught like wildfire. It was everywhere.
Yeah, well, I was asleep at the time because a couple hours difference over here. But yeah, this news was so big that Doobie even wrote the post himself because it was 11:30 at night and he realized no one else would be awake and took it upon himself to embed a few tweets in an article. So thanks to him.
The official statement from Disneyland reads as this. During the final showing of Fantasmic at Disneyland Park on Saturday evening, the dragon prop caught fire. Anaheim Fire and Rescue quickly responded and the fire was extinguished. All cast members were safely evacuated from Tom Sawyer Island. Due to smoke and wind, attractions near the island were safely evacuated of any guests, and the cause of the fire remains under investigation at this time. We are temporarily suspending fire effects similar to those used at Disneyland Park's Fantasmic at select shows and entertainment experiences globally out of an abundance of caution following the Fantasmic prop fire at Disneyland Park. The continued safety of our cast and guests is of the utmost importance. First of all, it is not a prop. It is a character. Can we please stop referring to her as a prop?
No, I think it's totally fine in this context.
Okay, this was crazy. I mean, listen, I think everybody's seen the footage at this point, and it was wild and upsetting, and there was a lot, honestly. But like, what were you thinking when you saw it?
I was thinking, oh yeah, Murphy. Just bringing it back after like 14 years.
If people don't remember, so this dragon is not the original dragon used in the original Fantasmic at Disneyland. If you're familiar with the dragon used at Disney's Hollywood Studios to this day, that's what it was at Disneyland until 2009, when this new, like, really impressive fire-breathing dragon came to life in the summer of 2009. It was supposed to be the summer. It was supposed to be part of Summer Night-tastic, but as you may recall, it never actually premiered during Summer Night-tastic. It opened several weeks later. So like it got the nickname Murphy because of Murphy's Law, where, if something can go wrong, it will go wrong. Everything went wrong with this dragon. When she finally did premiere, she didn't even breathe fire that first performance. So like there was always something with Murphy, and she's had a really, really good long run. She is beautiful. She is impressive. But as of right now, she is no longer. She was burnt to a crisp. It was kind of scary how quickly it spread. And you'd have to think like this was an animatronic figure that breathed fire. I would assume it was like fireproof to a point. But looking at it, I'm like, it looked like it was covered in flame fluid. It was crazy how quickly she went up in flames.
Yeah, that's probably it. It was probably some sort of leak or something that caused it to just ignite the whole thing. I have no idea, obviously, but there's even parts where you see it kind of like extra, not explosions per se, but just other things happening, and you're like, that's scary. And how everyone's just kind of like, you only see the videos from people who are, brave enough to stand there and hold the video. I don't know how guests were reacting, but even though it's far away and it's across the bay, I would imagine that this is quite a scary scene, and yet I didn't see anyone that looked scared or concerned at all.
Yeah, it's interesting. There was a lot of calm, not only from guests, but even like cast members on that stage. The cast members that came out with like fire extinguisher and hoses seemed pretty darn calm, considering, because like you said, I wouldn't use the word explosions. I would. Like, her head had a couple of bursts after the initial, catch on fire. It reminded me a little bit of, I was living in LA. I was not in the park, but from a distance, I could see the King Kong encounter explosion from Universal Studios Hollywood. And you just saw all this smoke up in the air. And then at some point it like blew up because it was these tanks of like gas that create the fire that just blow up. And, this dragon obviously had something in its body and head that created the fire. So I don't know, kind of terrifying, also really sad. I mean, a stunningly beautiful animatronic. I will say one thing though. I wasn't as sad as I expected to be. And that's because I don't watch Fantasmic hardly ever anymore since they updated it to the 2.0 version. Mm-hmm. Like, that's how much I dislike the 2.0 version. I basically will watch it if I'm bringing somebody to Disneyland who like has never been or never seen Fantasmic. I'm like, you gotta see it. But for me, it's just not a show I frequent anymore. Nonetheless, really tragic to see this happen. And like the after photos are disturbing. She is just burnt to a crisp.
Yeah, so Disneyland has said they're going to pause shows of Fantasmic at least through May 14th. It doesn't mean that it will return May 14th. I would guess we'll probably get Maleficent on a stick again for a while. That's what they had all during Summer Night-tastic. In place of a dragon, you just had Maleficent on a stand in there.
Yeah, so the B mode is basically you have Maleficent and she gets lifted up into the air on a giant pole, and then they start the mist screens, they project the dragon on a mist screen, and then normally the giant animatronic is revealed. In this case, they'll just leave the projection on the mist screen and her up in the air, kind of. So, yeah, it's probably going to be that for a while. I got to be honest, though, like, this was definitely a thought there was the thought that could this be the end of Fantasmic? Because, they're cutting corners. They're looking to save money. Fantasmic is an expensive show. I don't know the numbers. I'm going to assume it's more costly to run than World of Color, just considering the amount of cast members in the show versus 0 in World of Color. And I was like, if they want an excuse to close Fantasmic and create something new that's less expensive to run on the regular, this is the perfect excuse. And then the other thing was, okay, if they do keep Fantasmic, how long, if that dragon ever returns? I don't know.
Well, maybe they'll go back to the original Fantasmic, because if you recall, once there was a fire in under new management, it went back to the regular Tiki Room. So maybe that's the secret.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen. But I don't know. What do you think? Do you think we'll get that dragon back?
I think it would be a while. I think maybe they'll figure something else out. I don't know. I mean, yeah, it looks very charred and stuff, but we don't know how much of it was actually... It was obviously damaged, but we don't know the extent of it.
So I do know that the skin of that dragon is created at Garner Holt Productions, as I saw the skins being made when I toured his space and interviewed him on this show. So at the time, I thought he wouldn't say anything to me, but at the time, this was when Disney's Hollywood Studios Fantasmic was kind of going through their updates. I thought he was making another dragon for them and hoping. Now I don't think we'll ever see that dragon head to Disney's Hollywood Studios, but I would really hope that she returns. I mean, she was stunning. The fire effect was stunning. It's dangerous. It's fire. And I will say, and of course, the thing everybody else thinks of is in 2018 during Festival of Fantasy at Magic Kingdom, that dragon's head caught on fire. Luckily, it didn't spread the way that this one did, and it stayed to the head, because that was driving down the streets of crowds. But like, these are both very scary situations that ended kind of in best case scenarios. Nobody was really hurt, and, you know, no buildings nearby caught on fire or anything like that. But, you know, and part of you can be like, well, maybe those are because there are safety measures in place. Perhaps. I think part of it's kind of luck as well, because let's just say it was a windy night. I don't even know. Like, I don't think I've never heard this, but maybe this is a safety precaution in place. I wonder if it's a certain amount of windy if she doesn't shoot her flames for the night, just because those flames could spread. Like, I have no idea. I've never seen it. Every time it hasn't shot flames, I assumed it was just error, but maybe not. I don't know. It's a lot. And, you know, luckily nobody was hurt. The cast members seemed to handle it well. But like I said, like, very casual, I felt on that stage. I don't know if you saw the videos of them coming out with extinguishers, but I'm like, y'all are brave souls. You're like standing below this dragon that is quickly spreading on fire.
Well, they might have like flame retardant like on the stage or whatever, so maybe they know more. But I have no idea, obviously.
Perhaps, but, you know, hopefully not the end of an era, but for the time being, it's going to be gone for a good long while, I think. I'm very surprised how quickly they're even suggesting Fantasmic might return. We're talking a few weeks, perhaps. It's pretty impressive, and I'm happy for all the cast members who get to continue to work, and it's not affecting their paycheck. That's great as well. So that's the reality. It was wild. And what effects do we know that they did shut off? We know that they shut off the Festival of Fantasy fire effect, right? And that dragon, they mentioned a couple around the world. Same dragons in Paris, correct? For Festival of or for a parade?
I think so. I'm actually not sure. And I'm trying to think of other, like, because that's the other thing. It's not just anything that creates fire. It's however uses fire in the same way. So I'm wondering if, like, Germany Center Earth, Mount Prometheus at Tokyo Disney Sea shoots a fire effect, but I don't know if it's the same mechanisms or anything.
Yeah, and interestingly, the dragon in Fantasmic at Disney's Hollywood Studios, it's not the same sort of fire effect, so that is still being lit every night. Or by the way, do you remember the slogan for Summer Nightastic?
No.
It was Ignite the Night.
Okay, yeah.
So it happened.
And that was also the premiere of, I was wondering if it has something to do with Magical. Because, the dragon was on all the promotions, but Magical was also the same year. That was part of it with Dumbo.
The big things for Summer Nightastic were the new dragon in Fantasmic, which never happened. Magical was a new fireworks show. Not the Main Street Electrical Parade. Disney's Electrical Parade was at Disney California Adventure. And I believe there was a new lighting package for Pixie Hollow. I think that was part of Summer Nightastic as well. It was a really good summer promotion.
It's very
it was great.
memorable.
Yeah, super memorable. And I will say, though, like, I remember I had every intention. I was at work that day. I was like, I'm going down to Disneyland to see this new dragon because it's going to be incredible. And I do remember, like, hearing before I went down. In fact, I think I canceled my plans because it was like, oh, the dragon's not ready. I was like, what are you kidding me? Like, this is all of your marketing. This Maleficent dragon is on everything and it's not ready. So it was kind of wild. But in any case,
you know, I realize I say it's memorable, that Summer Nightastic was memorable, but it's probably just because that was when I moved to California, was I think like May or June of 2009. So I was, the first time I'm going to Disneyland, like as a regular, was during that. So that's probably why it stands out more in my mind.
Listen, I hope it's not the end for Murphy. I hope when she returns, she doesn't get the nickname Murphy. Hopefully she's more reliable. And if it is the end of that beautiful, glorious audio animatronic figure, it was a good run. She was stunning. And may she rest in peace for now. But I really hope I hope she makes a return. Ugh, it would be sad if she didn't. But let's move on, because Disney made some announcements for halfway to Halloween. And for those Halloween-y fans out there like myself, you'll be happy to know that Walt Disney World has announced that Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party will return to the Magic Kingdom this year, beginning on August 11th. Because we're all thinking Halloween and that humid summer weather of Orlando, aren't we?
Of course. You want your candy to melt just as quickly as you get it.
It's true. They really should give as little chocolate as possible. You got to give the hard stuff so it doesn't melt. And it's running through November 1st, so the day after Halloween. Prices range from $109 to $199, matching last year's range, with $10 discounts for annual pass holders and Disney Vacation Club members on select nights. Tickets do go on sale starting Tuesday, May 2nd, so by the time you're hearing this, they are on sale. Returning entertainment includes Mickey's Boo-to-You Halloween Party and the Hocus Pocus Villain Spelltacular, and so much more that will be announced later. Fans of the Hocus Pocus Villain Spelltacular will be able to show their love with a special Spirit jersey and a Sanderson Sisters plush set. Elsewhere, Disney does note that Tron Light Cycle Run will be available during parties, but is expected to utilize a virtual queue. Virtual queue, yes, but they're not going to do Lightning Lane during a party, are they?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think that if they do, I think that's unprecedented. I'm pretty sure hard ticket events like Lightning Lane Genie Plus is not available. I don't think we've seen that before. So, and they didn't mention it. They said virtual queue.
This is the same process that they use for the after hours for hotel guests. So I guess haven't seen how they do it during that, but I'd imagine it'd be similar.
All right. In more halfway to Halloween news, we know that at Disneyland Resort, Oogie Boogie Bash will return to Disney California Adventure this fall, although we don't have an opening date for that. I'm assuming earlier than last year. I'm assuming more dates because it sold out really fast last year. And I'm not going to be surprised at all if it starts in August for this year, which would be a first for Oogie Boogie Bash. I wouldn't be surprised in the least.
I am very excited to see what mind-blowing character they'll be bringing to Oogie Boogie Bash when it comes around.
Yeah, so what Kyle is referring to is if you did not hear an episode I released of the podcast last October, I interviewed the creators of Oogie Boogie Bash, and one of the big conversation pieces was the trick-or-treat trails and the characters that we see, like the amazing Ernesto and so many others, Mad Madam Mim, and it was specifically said by Jordan, who's the show director of Oogie Boogie Bash, that they were working on something that will blow our minds and will be unexpected. So,
and hopefully does not breathe fire.
Oh gosh, if it does, it doesn't now. I guarantee that's been removed at this point. But so yeah, Oogie Boogie Bash is returning to DCA, so that's great. Also, Halloween on the High Seas will once again turn the Seven Seas spooky aboard the Disney Cruise Line. Halloween merchandise has also been revealed to celebrate halfway to Halloween, including some spooky lounge flies, spirit jerseys, and other apparel. So they kind of did this limited time merch and snacks in the park, just because why not? Extra money.
A lot of them being ones that were already around during real Halloween last year. So I don't know if they kept a supply or just made some more.
They're just get them out of here because they got the years on them. But what drives me nuts? Listen, I'm always ready for Halloween announcements. Everybody knows it's my favorite day of the year. But it does drive me crazy. Why do they celebrate halfway to Halloween early? Halfway to Halloween is April 30th and or May 1st. So why don't they just wait till those dates to make that announcement? Why do they do it 2 weeks early?
And what's weird is that they make they're on Monday, they're we're doing halfway to Halloween announcements on Thursday. And so then Thursday, I don't know if they just wanted to not talk about 420 or what. It was all just very weird. I think they just had a hole in their schedule. And they're close enough, just put it here.
Yeah, it really bothers me. I don't know. Halfway to Halloween is so... I get it. Halloween is celebrated for a couple months. But, halfway to Halloween, you're really going to kind of hit the mark. And they don't. They go early. So, in any case, that's a thing. Halloween is in the news. We have officially passed halfway to Halloween at this point. So get ready, kiddos. And by the way, that's halfway to Halloween, not halfway to Halloween events starting, which is, like I said, 2 months earlier. So we're really 4 months from Halloween stuff starting, which is crazy. Crazy. Before we move on, Kyle, I want to remind folks that this month, May of 2023, it is a live stream Ask Me Anything month for patrons of Disney Coast to Coast. Now, I have such a great time chatting with DCTC Patreon members during these live streams, and I feel like they get to know me on a different level. Now, I'm pretty candid on this podcast, but I'd say things get even more candid, believe it or not, during the live streams when participants can literally ask me anything. The live stream will be scheduled for later this month, so there's still time to join us. Simply click on that Patreon link in this episode's description to find out how you can take part, as well as discover other bonuses available to patrons. Now, this last little bit of news we have here, Kyle, you know who Patti LuPone is, right?
She is. She's famous for yelling at people.
Yes, I'm not particularly a fan of hers. A lot of musical theater people love her. She has a very well-known voice, I would say. It's not to my particular liking, but she's loud. And she obviously has done television and movies and stuff. But during a recent episode of The View, Patti LuPone, it kind of feels like spilled some tea about the upcoming Marvel series that she's a part of called Agatha, Coven of Chaos. Of course, Agatha is from WandaVision. She was the villain. We all love Agatha. We're all excited that there's a new series featuring Agatha coming out. And I'm saying that quite seriously. Even as a non-Marvel guy, I love Agatha. So I am pretty stoked about this. But Patti LuPone was on the show, The View, promoting something else. And at the end, they kind of just asked her about it. And she kind of went on this little rant. And I was like, is this information that's public knowledge? Let's see. First of all, she starts up by admitting that she knows nothing about Marvel, which frankly doesn't shock me at all.
Nobody's surprised by this.
Yeah, this is not the demographic. But I honestly think that's one of my favorite things about Marvel having series is it has introduced so many performers into the Marvel Cinematic Universe or just Marvel Universe that never would be part. Like, I don't think Kathryn Hahn would normally be part of the Marvel Universe, but like she is now. And I just think it's kind of cool that there's so many more opportunities. But in any case, she mentions the Coven of Witches, including Kathryn Hahn, Aubrey Plaza. She mentions Joe Locke from Heartstopper, which is a show that I love. If you're a fan of Love Victor, check out the British version, essentially, called Heartstopper on... What is that on? That's on Netflix. Waiting for season 3. Can't wait for it. Sashir Zamata and Ali On. Now, these had been announced, I guess?
Yeah, those had been announced, but... while we kind of guessed that Patti would be playing a witch, she specifies which one she is.
So Patti's going to play Lilia Kelderu, a 450-year-old Sicilian witch whose power is divination, which means it's the idea that you can see into the future by supernatural means, and her source is through tarot. So we learned a little bit more about this. I don't know. I was just shocked to hear her talk so candidly about it. And I was really like, oh my God, is she going to get fired? Because she is, once again, if you don't know Patti LuPone, she is the type to get herself into trouble. She will just say what's on her mind. In the middle of Broadway shows, she will literally stop the show and reprimand audience members if she feels that they're being disruptive. She's a firecracker, man. And so I just kind of felt like she was having one of those moments. Seems like maybe she gave a little bit more than she should have, but not too much.
I would say so. I think she's on the right side. Like, yeah, I think doing some research, because you asked me, like, how much did she give away? And I'm like, okay, well, the casting and stuff we knew, but I don't think we knew the character. And looking at it, it seems like people are taking this as an announcement of her character. So I don't think it was the end of the world. Doesn't mean Feige is going to be happy about it. But yeah, I am sure Feige is also intimidated by her. Or I would be if I were him.
I wonder did we know that Joe Locke was going to be a witch? Because that's kind of cool.
I'd have to look back at our coverage, but I know that he was in it. I mean, it is called Coven of Chaos, so I guess we figure most of the people being cast are witches.
I guess. In any case, Kyle, that's the news we got this week. Not a ton, but, the Fantasmic news was definitely, like, the biggest thing on my mind. But anything else you want to add or any exciting Disney adventures you had this past week that you'd like to share? When's the last time you opened Disney Plus?
I watch Boy Meets World once per week to keep up with Pod Meets World.
Oh, the podcast.
Yeah. So I do that every week for that. I am bummed about National Treasure being canceled, though. I was enjoying that. It's a little silly when it gets spun out to an entire season because the way they have to do like the puzzles and stuff like that. But I thought it was still fun. So I'm sad about that. But I'm excited for the Muppet Show. I haven't watched that. I don't even think
Is that
it's
out
yet.
now? I gotta check that out.
I forget when it comes out.
I gotta be honest, I haven't been on Disney Plus in quite some time. But you know what? I'll mention something Hulu related, which I think I've probably mentioned on this show, but I'll mention it again because it's moved from Peacock to Hulu, which I guess is technically Disney. And that is, if you haven't been watching Superstore, it's an old show at this point, but holy crap, one of my favorite sitcoms of all time. I still just put it on in the background, and it makes me laugh. Still, one of the best ensemble casts of any sitcom of all time. Superstore, now on Hulu.
While we're talking TV, I do want to share one other piece of breaking news from earlier today, the day we're recording, that I thought was interesting, which is that Fox canceled its highest rated scripted series, 911, and it's moving to ABC for its 7th season.
I thought you were going to say The Simpsons, and I was like, what?
That would be much bigger news. But no, but I think it's weird. Like, I know the show did well. They renewed the spinoffs. So we got like a real like WBUPN thing going on here, where we're going to have the spinoff on one network and the original on a different one.
Yeah, it's interesting when this happens, but it happens, a good amount. I was watching that show that Neil Patrick Harris was starring in on Netflix. Was it called not Uncoupled? What was it called? I can't remember. But maybe Uncoupled. I can't remember. But in any case, Netflix canceled it, and then now somebody else I think Showtime picked it up or something. But yeah, it happens. It's weird, but
it's usually not the highest rated scripted series on the network that's canceling it. Like that part's a little weird.
Was it just expensive?
Yeah.
Was it just a costly show to produce? Yeah.
Yeah, and they don't produce it anymore because it was from before the Disney. So yeah, Disney owns it now.
Gotcha. And Disney's like, not good enough for our brand. I see. It makes sense. I think we'll probably see more of that, although not with The Simpsons. I think Disney's very happy with The Simpsons.
Yeah, all those got renewed. All those animated comedies, Fox picked up. Disney is the one still producing them.
I'll tell you what. That little Pixar Place area over at Disney's Hollywood Studios, I think pretty soon, I'd say once that contract ends with Universal, which I believe is 2028 for the Simpsons stuff, I think I could be entirely wrong with that. I wouldn't be surprised at all if that becomes like the Fox animation area starring the Simpsons. Like, I feel like Disney's Hollywood Studios is the first place we're going to see the Simpsons in a Disney park. That's just my prediction.
Or you don't even need to make it The Simpsons. Why don't you make a real Bob's Burgers there? I would love it.
Sure, let's do it. I don't
Petition.
want any of that.
We're starting
stuff.
a change.org. Those things never fail.
They always
mean everything.
Didn't you hear?
In the world.
Splash Mountain sticking around, didn't you hear?
I heard.
It's change.org.
All the things.
All the things. Alrighty, Kyle. Always a pleasure chatting with you. Have a good couple weeks. We'll reconvene here in a couple weeks. Sound good?
Sounds awesome.
To read more about any and all of the stories you've heard here today, simply visit the show notes link in this episode's description. You've heard the news, and now I want to hear what you have to say about it. What do you think of the halfway to Halloween news Disney announced? Does anything about it spark your interest in particular? Share your thoughts on that or any other topics mentioned in today's episode. Call 818-860-2569 and you may just hear yourself on a future episode of Disney Coast to Coast. Thanks for tuning into this episode. Don't miss any future episodes by subscribing and following Disney with a Z Coast to Coast on your favorite podcast app, where episodes are available 24/7. Until next time, anything you need can be found in this episode's description. From additional information and links discussed in this episode found in the show notes, contact info to reach me, access to the show's official website, some free gifts from me to you, and so much more. So be sure to check out this episode's description. Other than that, folks, have a magical day. Bye!